gonna catch another ship, yeah. And it's like a lotus, so it's time to flip the script, yeah. Cruising through the bay on that fucking red battleship, sold up, screaming out about what you heard. So about what you heard. So about what you heard. So about what you heard. All right, welcome to Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. I am joined by my esteemed co-host, Michael, the GM. Pless, how you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great, Gene. Bucs win, Bucs win, Bucs win. It was awesome to see. I mean, 48-40. I mean, who would have expected that? I mean, it was pretty cool.
Bro, I was not expecting a shootout with Drew Brees. Okay. Anybody, we've talked about it, and you guys can go back and look at our videos. We've told you guys the Bucs are in all 16 games this season. I don't see a game the Bucs cannot do something in. Okay. And that's what we've been saying. I know and we're going to get into that a little bit, but I'm excited about this game just because the Bucs went out there and silenced some critics early, and nobody was expecting that from this offense. And the one thing that we saw was how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers carried something from the preseason, which is scoring, into the offseason. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the passing game, that's what they brought into the regular season. You saw, like, that's their strength. That's what they can do. They can pass the ball, and they did that. I mean, they spread out the Saints defense, and they just attacked mismatches consistently, and it was very refreshing. It's something that this team should have done last year, and they were trying to do it last year, and for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. The execution wasn't there. Didn't have time to throw. So it was just great to see everything translate as far as the offensive side of the ball goes.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting is it looks like on the offensive side of the ball, everybody's bought into this. And there's somebody that I know a lot of people in the offseason wanted this guy traded, wanted him gone. They thought he was a bust. They thought it was a stupid move to sign him. And that was Desean Jackson. And I think Desean Jackson went out and silenced the critics this week, and he did what we thought he was going to do last year. I've always said, and I stand by what I say, that this was a chemistry issue. This was not an issue where it related to talent. This was an issue where it was timing. And we saw touch on the ball, hitting this guy in stride to where he could do what he does. And that's what he did, was he got the ball in stride and he was able to get that yak. And I tell you what, a lot of people had written off Ryan Fitzpatrick, Greg Lombardi, was the guy that comes to mind. And of course, I tweeted this guy and let him know what he could do with his Teddy Bridgewater request that he sent earlier in September. So, just saying, if you don't understand about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you better follow them and understand what's going on before you start talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you look at this game, I think, and, the coaching staff talked about it this offseason of getting the ball more involved to Desean Jackson, getting him touches, whether it's through play design or just overall execution. And I think you just saw a good comfort level because Fitzpatrick has been here for more than a year now. Same thing with Desean. And like you said, it's just the chemistry. Everybody's on the same page. Offensive line did a great job of blocking. Pass protection was good from the running backs. So everyone just seemed to be on the same page. And it was nice to see them attack with Desean Jackson utilizing his speed and creating mismatches in the slot. That's just something we've talked about as far as attendance weaknesses, and that's what they did. So it was nice to see. It's very refreshing that they did that. And then once the Saints made adjustments, then we went to Mike Evans in the second half, and we took advantage of that.
Oh, yeah. And Mike Evans, I cannot tell you how happy I was to see Mike Evans being able to catch the ball in stride as well and do what he does. And, again, this offense should be giving defensive coordinators nightmares. If they can continue on this path, if you can hit guys in spaces, I mean, that's what you want to do. I'm looking at Mike Evans, OJ Howard, Chris Godwin. I was on a podcast with some other NFC South people, and I talked about Chris Godwin on Saturday. I talked about what Cameron Brate could do. I talked about Adam Humphries and just so on and so forth. I said, you can't overlook this Buccaneers offense. And, again, they went out and showed what they can potentially do. Now, I'm not going to get too far ahead because I know we're going to get into the Philadelphia Eagles, but I definitely, I want to talk about this win because this win was big. And again, you've got a lot of people that were criticizing the defense, but listen, this year, the defense wasn't a liability. If the defense hadn't gotten certain stops, if the defense hadn't gotten turnovers, if the defense hadn't stopped runs, this would have been a totally different game. If you can establish Alvin Kamara in the running game, this is a totally different game than what you saw. The fact that they were able to stop Alvin Kamara and you didn't have a Ingram in there as well, any other running back they had out there, they were able to stop the run. That was huge. And it gets missed in all of the different things that they talk about, the different narratives that you hear. I understand you're talking about Drew Brees. Drew Brees is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm going to give this guy props because that's what he is. I don't like him and the team he's on, but you have to acknowledge what he is and what he's capable of doing. Now, that being said, the fact that we're able to stop the run, it made them change their game plan, and you're looking at a totally different game that the Bucs were able to dictate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's take it back a little bit and let's look at, the first drive. They go right down the field and we're like, oh, okay, here we go again. Defense is just going to be soft today and just let them roll over. And we're hoping our offense can at least get a couple first downs and move the ball. And offense comes right back and just strikes it in their face. And you just, you're excited to see that because, okay, are going to pick up our defense today. And then when the offense just kept it going, and you knew eventually the defense was going to make some type of play. They were going to find a way to change the game, and that's what they did by forcing that turnover by Vernon Hargreaves, and Justin Evans runs it in for the touchdown. So that play right there, that was huge. That turns the momentum. That's a 10-point swing right there. But yeah, I mean, defensively stopping the run, that was huge, like you said, and then making Drew Brees into one dimension where he's pretty much throwing every down. And again, they didn't have much resistance when throwing. Obviously, I mean, again, going up against two rookies, that's going to be an advantage for them. And they found their mismatches, which great offenses like the Saints are going to do. But again, like you said, they made key plays. I mean, Quan Alexander hustling and knocking that ball out from Mike Thomas, that was critical. Again, and then we go right down and score. I think Mike Evans scored on the next play or series. So those are big point swings. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Those are things that I was excited about. The fact that they stopped the run. Remember, and we can go back to last year, that blowout win that the New Orleans Saints got against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They ran up and down the field whenever they wanted to, however they wanted to. They were not able to do that in this game on Sunday. That was big. And that's what you're looking for with this team is market improvement from last season. And me and you have both said this is the best 5-win team that, I mean, I know it sounds cliche. This is the best 5-win team that was out there. There are games that they should have won regardless of talent. They should have won games last year. They were in those games. They lost by maybe one touchdown or a field goal, but those are games they could have won had the ball bounced the right way. What we're seeing right now is a totally different team. And, any thoughts that you have of that 5-win team last season, put it out of your head. This is a totally different team than what you saw last season.
Yeah, it's a new roster. And again, back to the Saints in the running game, they were obviously missing Mark Ingram. I mean, that's a big part of their offense. So for them to only have two running backs, they had Mike Gillislee, who just came off the street from New England. And he had the big play of the game. I mean, he fumbles that ball. That changes everything. So that was a big momentum swing. But it was just nice to see. Defensively, again, they have stuff they have to work on. But like we said, before the season started, they have a lot of new pieces. It's going to take time for these guys to gel, especially up front, defensive line. They have to learn how to work together. So, it was positives that these guys were getting in. They were getting in the backfield. They just couldn't sack Drew Brees. And he's one of the hardest guys to get down. I mean, just his subtle movements, the way he can, just quickly move to the left or the right. So it was good that they were getting in there, but, still got to finish, and just little things that they can improve on. But it's nothing like, oh my God, we're going to be terrible for the whole season. Like, I didn't see any glaring weaknesses, to say the least, on defense. And then, offensively, I mean, the offensive line, as long as the offensive line stays healthy, that's something we can do consistently as far as putting up points, because they were outstanding on Sunday. Now, again, the Saints defense, they don't have much as far as the pass rush goes. They have one guy in Cam Jordan. They have a couple other guys that are, okay, decent. Nothing that's going to scare you. So from that standpoint, to see everything to come together on that side of the ball, because they're the healthier side. I mean, they have every piece ready to go. And for Cam Brate not to get a catch, that just shows you how good the weapons are in this game. I mean, the weapons on the offenses. So,
yeah, and I've got to give props to the offensive line. I swear to you, from the end of the season against the Saints game up till the beginning of this game, all I heard about was how bad the offensive line is, how horrible the offensive line is, how the offensive line is a liability. I mean, if you go up and down social media, that's what you heard. My fear is what the offensive line is capable of doing. If you look at what Ryan Fitzpatrick, no sacks, no turnovers, and this guy is he is Ryan Fitzpatrick. So to see that, I mean, that's a good confidence builder. And again, not to jump ahead or anything like that, which we'll talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, but this game coming up will be a big tester for this offensive line to see what they're capable of doing. So as you looked at all 22, because I know you have, just like I have, what were your takeaway? I mean, we've looked at the game. Me and you were texting back and forth a little bit. But we got our thoughts about the game after the final gun sounded. But when you get a chance to look at all 22, were there any things that you saw that made you kind of think, maybe I need to rethink this?
Offensively, I just liked how they attacked from a tendency. They were unpredictable. They came out and they threw the ball on first down often, which was nice to see. Ran the ball when they were supposed to run the ball. Just situational football from an analytical standpoint. They really took advantage of that. And it was really cool to see how Todd Monken dictated his play calls towards what the Saints were doing as far as coverage. And it was nice to see them take advantage of that. That opening drive, they come out in single high coverage. Basically what that means is they have one safety back, and it was cool to see because they set up everything. They came out and they threw the ball on first down. They ran the ball a little bit. And then once they realized that the Saints are not changing their coverage, Todd Monken calls up the perfect play call, and they get beat deep for a 58-yard touchdown. So it was just nice to see, Monken's point of view as far as how to attack the opposing defense based on what they were doing and getting the guys into the right play calls. Now, again, Fitzpatrick has something to do with that. He did a nice job of making sure the audibles were called at the right time and making sure guys were running the right routes with hand signals and stuff like that. And he was very decisive, which I liked. He ran the ball when nothing was there and just tuck it and go. So, and then, defensively, I like that we saw more press coverage. But again, there's still work to be done. We weren't perfect. Red zone, I would have liked to see us be a little bit more efficient. We're only 50%. So like to be a little bit better. You like to be closer to 60. But, overall, I didn't see anything that was like glaring, like, oh, this is going to be bad for the whole season. I mean, overall, it was stuff that we can fix pretty easily.
Yeah, definitely. These are things
Mhm.
that are coachable, that we
Right.
saw, the little things that we saw. But I know for me, I enjoyed that the play calling. There was
Yeah.
kind of piggybacking off what you were talking about, it was unpredictable. And
Mhm.
you had passes on first down, and it totally caught the defense on their heels. And, from that point, they were aggressive. And when you
Yeah.
have speed and space like a Desean Jackson, when you have the speed of a tight end like a OJ Howard, when you
Mhm.
have a Chris Godwin, guys that can make plays, I mean, that is a defensive coordinator's nightmare right there, trying to
Mhm.
figure out how do you game plan for all this. And
Right.
again, where you kind of have to pick your poison. And
Mhm.
the running game, which everybody was questioning, was a huge part of this Buccaneers win in the first, especially in the first quarter, where we saw Peyton Barber getting those first downs, making plays with his legs, and that's what kind of got everything rolling for this offense. And we've talked about this ad
Yeah.
nauseum, prior to the season starting, how important the running game was. And this is kind of what we saw here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, after that first drive, because they saw him out in single high coverage, they attacked it, they executed, scored, and then the following drive, the Bucs got the ball back. The Saints, you see the Saints go back into cover two coverage, so they have
Right.
two,
Exactly.
pretty much two deep, and that's where we ran the ball, and we were very successful. Peyton Barber gets those big runs on 1st and 10. And then it just sets you up from there. And they really did a good job of just keeping the Saints off balance. And what I like personally is they attacked the Saints' weakest defender every time they went after Crawley, number 20, and they
Yeah.
just continued to go after him. And that's something that this team hasn't done. I don't know how long. It was
And
really refreshing.
yeah, and I have to ask you, do you think
Hmm.
it's because of the weapons they have now? You have a Chris Godwin that can go up
Hmm.
against these cornerbacks. I think you could put Chris Godwin up against the number one cornerback and he would be
Hmm.
successful. Just the way he
Yeah.
plays and just his level of talent. And he's quietly coming along to where he's going to be a threat as we move forward.
Right. Yeah. No, that definitely plays a part. I mean, we have so many weapons. I think Chris Sims said on his podcast that you can't play man coverage against the Bucs. I mean, it's impossible because they'll pick you apart, especially if they have time to throw. And he
Yeah.
was saying, the Saints, they just didn't really have a good game plan for what we were bringing. And Todd Monken put us in the right spots to take advantage of that, which was great to see. But again, back to my point, attacking King Crawley. It showed that this team is finally they're just doing what it takes to win no matter what. It's not making guys happy. It's not going to Mike Evans every time. It's doing what you have to do to win the game. And that's what was really nice to see. It's like, and that just shows you to, Dirk Cutter and his ability to let go of the play calling, something that he loves to do. I mean, this is why he's in the league, is play calling. And for him to give that up, that just shows you how much he wants to win this year. And that's something this team had to start doing.
Yeah, and this season is going to be about wins and losses. And
Exactly.
for you can throw statistics out the window. I heard a lot of people dropping statistics. The Bucs are ranked here. The Bucs are ranked here.
Mhm.
No, the Bucs are 1-0 right now. Now
Right.
let's move on to the next game. That's what this season is about. Wins and
Hmm.
losses. I
Yeah, and
understand
you
the Bucs. And go ahead.
Yeah, and you hear Dirk Cutter's message after the game. He's like, "It doesn't matter how it gets done as long as we win." And that was pretty much his message. He's like, "It doesn't matter how we got there." And I like how they're approaching this. It's like, let's just get the win. That's all that matters. Forget the stats. You can make improvements, throughout the week to make your stats look better, but the main thing is getting that win.
Yeah. And I want to get your thoughts on this. You've got these
Mhm.
two rookie cornerbacks out here. They're
Right.
trial by baptism by fire. I like
Mhm.
it. And the
Yeah.
reason I like it is because they're getting reps. They're getting a chance to show what they can do. They're getting a feel for the NFL game. Once these other guys come in, like a Brent Grimes gets healthy, I'm
Mhm.
not sure what they're going to do as far as the cornerback position. but
Right.
you're going to have your best players available out there, and that's what you want right there. You've got guys that have gone up against a Michael Thomas, and to me, he's a top tier running back or wide receiver. Excuse me, top tier wide receiver, and that's good to get to go up against players like that just to get yourself ready as the season drags on.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially coming up this week, they're probably, we hope Brent Grimes can come back, but most likely you're going to have Carlton Davis, Ryan Smith, and MJ Stewart out there. They just picked up the new corner, Marcus Williams from the Jets, who, he's been okay in his career. He's got 10 interceptions and he's got some gains under his belt. So, you're hoping he can learn quickly and make an impact. Still have Javian Elliott. So, yeah, again, with the secondary, the main thing is this pass rush coming together. I think once these guys can get going, that's going to make it a lot easier for them. But I think I like it. I like that the rookies are out there. You're going to find out what they're made of, and I think they'll get better as they go on.
Yeah, and I have to ask you. Somebody in the chat was talking about Bashaud Breeland.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on him? I believe, I've always believed, unless it's something political, which I'm not going to get into, that the best players available are playing on a team right now. And the guys that are on the street, there's a reason there are guys on the street. Bashaud Breeland, I thought was going to sign with the Carolina Panthers, I believe. And, and for some reason he failed his physical or something like that.
Right.
What is the deal with him? Why hasn't he latched onto a team up till now?
Yeah, the Bucs had him in the building yesterday, and I think there must be something on him, whether it's injury or just personal, characteristics. But they had him in the building, and they decided to go with Marcus Williams. So it could be a contract, maybe money, maybe he's wanting, too high of a salary. But
we're looking at 32 teams in the NFL. And not everybody said at cornerback. There has to be something that we're not privy to that's going on here. I personally, and you guys can roast me about this if you want to, never been a fan of him. I always thought he was dirty, but that's for another time. If he's good, if he can help this team win, hey, you bring him in. But I've never been a huge fan of his. Just me personally, just watching the game. And, that's just me. But just as I've been watching throughout the offseason, I've been watching all the different cornerbacks that have been getting signed, players getting signed. And here's a guy that I keep hearing his name, and he never latches onto a team, which raises a red flag to me that there's got to be something that we're not privy to.
Yeah, there's something out on him. Oh, we got some feedback.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, there's something definitely going on with it's, like I said, injury, but the Bucs did bring him in, so that is good intel that they have, and in case they, suffer any more injuries, hopefully not, but at least you have that intel. If you get desperate enough, you can bring him in if he's available. So I think the Bucs were smart to do their due diligence like they always do. And it's an option if you get into a pinch. Let's say the guys are just not getting better, and you need someone to go in there. Maybe they sign them later.
Yeah, most definitely. So overall, I know we've kind of jumped back and forth on offense and defense, and for offense, who is your offensive player of the week if you had to give one?
Well, can I give it to like 5 people? Because I just give it to the offensive line.
There you go. Okay.
I think Ryan Jensen, the way he played, was outstanding, and just the whole entire unit. They really made it happen because without them, Fitzpatrick just doesn't have the day he has. Obviously, I liked how decisive Fitzpatrick was, and he made some great throws. Every throw was on the money, tight throws. There were some really good throws that he made where it's 50-50 ball, and he put it in the perfect spot. So, but offensive line for me, that's the biggest key because we have to win in the trenches.
Yeah, understood. There's nothing wrong with that. For me, I'm giving my player of the week to Desean Jackson. Desean Jackson honed his craft. He's a consummate professional. I know that there are always knocks on him about his attitude and his locker room presence, and all of this stuff is unfounded. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go on a limb and say that it's unfounded just based on listening to former teammates, listening to former coaches, listening to him interview, just seeing what he does and how he practices. The fact that he stayed in Tampa instead of going to work out in California in the offseason tells me everything I need to know about him. He came outside of his comfort zone, something he normally does year in and year out to get better with this team. This right here it's paying off. I understand he's injured, but on down the line, this is going to pay off where you have a guy that you know can stretch the field, can make a defensive coordinator think twice about stacking the box, can make a defensive coordinator, hey, rethink what he's planning on doing, re-game plan, just knowing that this guy's available. So for him to work out with this team, to work out with Jameis Winston, to work out with Ryan Fitzpatrick, to put himself in a position where he's successful, tells me that this guy, you know, it paid off basically what he was able to do. So shout out to him, props to him. That's what you're supposed to do if you want to win games. So, you know, to me, I can't see any other way. Now, I want to jump to the defensive side of the ball. And I want to see, for you, who would you give the defensive game ball to for the week?
I'm going to go with Vernon Hargreaves. I thought he was outstanding. It's unfortunate that he got hurt, you know, torn labrum. That's nothing to mess with. And it's unfortunate that he's out for the year now, but I thought he played outstanding. He was really good. You know, making plays on the ball, obviously tackling and run defense. So yeah, he would be my guy.
Yeah. For me, it's Mr. No Plays Off, Levante David. This guy, he continues to do what he does. I know that the linebacker core looked kind of slow and lethargic in the beginning, but they picked it up. They picked it up and they did what they had to do. And, you know, because of that, the Bucs, you know, they contributed to the Bucs having that win. For me, my game ball is going to go to Levante David just because of the things he did away from the camera, away from the ball, and just contributed to this Bucs team having a, you know, a successful first game.
Yeah, and he set up that got more feedback. He set up that turnover, VH3. So he made the play.
Yeah. And this is something that he's continuously done. And again, honorable mention, I have to give it to the special teams. I thought the special teams did what they had to do to keep the New Orleans Saints in manageable field positions. And, you know, Brian Anger, I love this guy. I'm glad he's a part of this team. Canizaro, I understand he missed a kick, but, you know, just what he was able to consistently do. I'm glad he's on the team as opposed to a Arguello or a, you know, Folk. So I'm happy with where this team is right now. It's the first game. And folks, you know, I'm going to take a second to sidebar here. I've always believed that with a football team, if you're following a football team, you have to give them at least 5 to 6 weeks to see what kind of team you're going to have throughout the rest of the season, because you're going to have highs like this game. You're going to have lows. You're going to have a team that can stop the run or stop the pass, and you have to find ways to win games. So right now, this was exciting. The Bucs had a good game, but please, you know, kind of temper your expectations. Watch the next game, watch the next couple of games, and just see if you can develop consistencies. See consistencies with the defense and the offense, things that they can do well, things that they can improve on, things that they need to work on, you know. So this is going to be a long season, 16 games. We're into the first game. The second game could be totally different, but you can't lose hope because the Bucs may do bad on the next game. Let's just wait and see, and you kind of develop an idea of what this team is capable of doing. So, yeah, this was a great game. I'm enjoying the win, and for me, that's what's important right now. But as we move forward throughout the season, just keep in mind that the Bucs, you really don't know what kind of team you have with the injuries that the Buccaneers are experiencing right now. You have JPP who didn't practice. You have Caleb Benenoch with the knee injury, limited practice. Brent Grimes with the groin injury. Desean Jackson with the shoulder and the concussion. Jason Pierre-Paul with the knee injury. Donovan Smith with the knee injury. Vita Vea, a guy who we haven't really talked about because they've been bringing him along slowly with this injury. And this is all compliments of Buccaneers.com. They kind of provided the injury report. One thing I do want to mention, folks, is the fact that Vita Vea is not on IR means that he could potentially show up at some point within the next few games to start playing. So don't write him off. Don't write this team off. Let's see how they build this team together and how they gel and, how they come together communication-wise before you form an opinion. And again, like I said, this could take up to 6 weeks to see what we have. Plus, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. It's just something that, we just gotta wait and see. Hopefully we can stay healthy while these guys, recover and get back to full strength. It's unfortunate, the hits that we taken in the secondary so far, pretty much down 2 starters. So yeah, I mean, it's just a wait and see, and hopefully we can, get these guys at 100% and get everything where you have all 3 phases of the team, clicking, whether it's offense, defense, and special teams. So, but yeah, I mean, Vita Vea, I think he's going to make a big impact once he gets back in there, but you just don't want him to rush. I mean, you want him, once he's in there, you want him to be able to go full go and play a lot of snaps. So I think that's why it's taking longer. And we probably won't see him this week, but hopefully, I think with the Monday night game coming up, I think that's where he'll make his debut. You have a little bit longer, and I think they'll start putting him in there, and that'll be great to see. But yeah, I mean, injuries are just part of the game. But like you said, the week 6 thing, yeah, I mean, that's very true. I mean, you don't really know what your team is until you get into October, because that's when the trends start to build.
Yeah, most definitely. Mm-hmm. And Savage Man in the chat room was talking about Sean Wilson. I was happy to see Sean Wilson out on the field.
He's a Darren Sproles.
Yes. I really expect more from him, and I hope that he can continue to show what he's capable of doing. I was really happy with him, and I believe that he will be a difference maker as we go on. Pewtercast, we have our guys from Pewtercast. Shout out to Pewtercast. If you're not following these guys, you really need to. They do a great job. They have a great show in the after the game, and on the weekends they have a really good show. So be sure to follow them. But he brought up a great point that the pass protection is still a little bit suspect, or at least it was at the end of training camp. To be honest, guys, I thought that Sean Wilson did a great job in this game. He's making the most of his opportunity to be out on the field. You saw that with his returns, with the return, singular, with the return he had, the chance that he got to be out there and run the ball. I mean, I'm excited for him. If he gets a hole, I think it would be exciting to see what he can do. So again, he's one of those guys that I'm really looking for him to take advantage of the opportunities that he gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the big thing before the game was Ronald Jones being inactive, but you're not going to see him because he's just not ready. I mean, the pass protection has to be there. That's why they put Jacquizz Rodgers in there, because they trust him with pass protection. Same thing with Peyton Barber. I mean, Peyton Barber had some huge pickups in pass protection. You look at the first touch.
He picked up a blitz that was huge.
Yeah.
That should have been a sack.
Yeah, you look at the first touchdown. I mean, that was a big blitz pickup where, well, it wasn't really a blitz. It was just, Rankins beat Marpet, and Barber stepped up right in there and held him right there. So that was huge. But yeah, that's a big reason why you're not seeing Ronald Jones. He's just not ready yet, and they're going to take it slow with him.
Yeah, and guys, please, this guy's a rookie. Give him time. We've seen players throughout the NFL that have gotten a chance to kind of sit back. He's not been thrown into the fire. He's getting a chance to, kind of observe and get a speed for the game and learn the playbook. The one thing that sticks out to me is I believe that he's struggling with the playbook. I could be wrong about this, but I know that in the interviews that I've seen, any of the articles that I've read about him, that's been the big thing is the playbook. And the speed of the NFL would probably be another thing that you kind of see just based on the plays that he's made or the plays that he's been involved with. Again, we got to give love to Peyton Barber, what he was able to do. And, he's taking advantage of the opportunities. You hear me say this from time to time, taking advantage of the opportunities that you're given. And that's what we're seeing with players like a Peyton Barber, where undrafted free agent, you bring him in and he's able to make the most of those opportunities. And we saw that again against the Saints, where he was able to make plays, extend plays, and give options to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. Excuse me.
Yeah. And I got feedback again.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. This goes back to my point about the team doing everything they need to do to win the game, and that's why you're seeing Ronald Jones and like Alex Kappa and these guys on the inactive list, because they're putting the best players on the field. It's about winning games, and that's all they care about. It's not about draft status. It's not about any of that. You have to dress the best 46 every week, and until Ronald Jones is a part of the best 46, I mean, he's not going to be up. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So, and again, I'm fine with that. Again, there's going to come a time where, unfortunately, there are going to be injuries to the running back position, and we're going to need him. And at that time, that's when he's going to be ready to play.
Yeah, you got to make, and again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, making the most of your opportunities when you get those. Now, he's able to take things in, and he's able to learn the speed of the game. He's able to practice and get himself ready to where when he is called upon, this can happen. I'm not, again, he's a rookie, and we've seen cases where it takes a year or two for a rookie to develop. And there are times where some players don't develop as quickly as other players. I'm not making excuses. I'm just going by experience. I'm going by body of work, things that I've seen where some players take longer to develop than others do. Some players come out and boom, they're instant success. There are other players that come out and it takes them a little bit longer, and then boom, they're on point. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So, I do want to get your grades on the offense, the defense, and special teams, and then we're going to move on to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it simple. Offense, A+, defense, C+. Special teams, I'll give them a B- just because Catanzaro has to make that field goal. There's no reason to miss a 44-yard field goal. So
okay, and for me, the offense A+. I'm going to give the defense a B-, only because they've showed market improvement and they weren't a liability in this game, and they still ended up coming out with that win. I'm going to give them B+. A lot of people won't agree with that because of the secondary or what have you. But when you can stop an Alvin Kamara from running the ball and you put it all on Drew Brees' shoulders to throw the ball, that's huge. That's really huge based on what we saw last season. So I stand by that. And then special teams, I'm going to give special teams a B+. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yep.
So I want to jump over to the Philadelphia Eagles, who went up against the Dirty Birds last week, and they were able to defeat them. So just kind of looking at their film, I watched that game last week, and what I saw was a defensive line that imposed their will on an offensive line, basically the Atlanta Falcons. And you could tell which was the more dominant, that being the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. Do you see similar things with this defensive line going against the Buccaneers offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Eagles. I mean, you guys start with their offensive line and defensive line. That's where their strengths are. They probably have the top 5 top 5 unit on both sides of the ball when it comes to the trenches. So offensive line for the Bucs is in for a battle. They're going to have to be on their toes and really be prepared for everything that Philly's going to throw at them. And whether it's a 4-man rush or if they bring extra guys, but their 4-man rush is very deadly. Their base defense is a pretty stout defensive line, but then once you get into third down situations, they bring in a defensive line that is all speed and can really cause havoc when they bring in Chris Long and Michael Bennett off the bench. So yeah, they have a lot of guys that they can rotate in and out, and it makes it very difficult to identify matchups and make sure you're in the right spots. So yeah, they are they are fast, but again, the thing is they're very aggressive, and you can catch them on that aggression. So that's something that the Bucs need to look into as from a offensive standpoint.
Yeah, the one thing that I saw with that Atlanta Falcons game versus the Philadelphia Eagles is the potential to over pursue, and this kind of puts them in a bad position when you have that kind of speed and you're throwing misdirection on them, or you're running a different way. That can definitely affect the game and affect how they are attacking that Buccaneers offense. So that's something that I'm sure that again. And I say this every week, and I stand by this as well. You have a offensive coordinator that looks at way more game film than we do, so they know that the things that we're talking about. I'm sure they see this and then some. But it's one of those things where you look at the Philadelphia Eagles. I watched them a few times, and different play calls. I'm like, wow, you could have run some kind of misdirection on that, and they over pursue. And then they're in a hole right there. So that's one of the things that I saw with that speed, as you mentioned, that third down speed package that they have that could potentially happen. So just looking at that, the Buccaneers, I love this. I'm excited to see what Todd Monken is going to draw up for this team. And I want to come to you as an offensive coordinator, Michael Pless. You're no longer a GM. You're the offensive coordinator right now. How do you scheme against this Philadelphia Eagles defense?
Yeah, I think you want to, again, they're very aggressive, like you said, and they tend to over pursuit. So I think you have to get the ball out quickly. You want to throw the ball on first down, be a little bit aggressive yourself, because you definitely don't want to be in third and long situations against this defense, or you're pretty much facing a punt. It's going to be very tough to convert those third and long opportunities. So I think first things first, I would try to spread them out and get that front seven a little more east and west, where they can't manipulate you with like blitzes or zone blitzes. So you want to spread them out. I would come out in spread formation and really just try to identify their weaknesses, which is the secondary. I think you can beat them against their corners, and with our receivers, I think that's a good matchup for us. So that's something I would do again, but quick passes, screens, slants. Adam Humphries, I think, could have a big game in this one because he's very good in the screen game, and I think that's something that we can look to do and really try to get the Eagles moving east and west. So if we can do that, and then run the ball occasionally, but that's the thing. We won't probably be able to run the ball with much success because the Eagles are really good at taking that away. That's something that they really focus on, and they're really good at it, making you one-dimensional. But we had the passing offense to really match up against their secondary if protect.
Yeah, and for me, the drag route would be I think it would be a huge success. You're running it against that linebacker core. I see that as a potential weapon for them, like a OJ Howard running a drag route, or even a Cameron Brate. They're soft in the middle. I mean, if you can get past that first tier, I think that there's plays to be had there. And again, with the wide receiver core that you have, you go down the line from Adam Humphries, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. I just do not believe that the Philadelphia Eagles have the personnel that can cover all these guys consistently. They may be able to cover them on one or two plays, but just not consistently. And that's going to come down to execution and play calling.
Yeah, and you can get, you have your two tight ends as well that can take advantage of mismatches, and that's something that I think we'll utilize, once we get down into the red zone, and that's something that's going to be huge in this game because you saw the Falcons, they could drive the ball down the field, but they just couldn't dial it up when they needed to score inside the red zone, and that's something that the Bucs are going to have to be really effective as far as being creative down there and really coming up with some good concepts like the Ryan Fitzpatrick touchdown run. That's a perfect concept to run there in the red zone. It just catches you off guard.
Yeah, and I really don't believe that was schemed. I think that was Ryan Fitzpatrick trying to make the most of a good opportunity. When you look at the Atlanta Falcons and you look at their offense top to bottom, and you compare it to what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have, there's just a little bit more offensive firepower when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers compared to the Atlanta Falcons. How do you defend against a Chris Godwin? I mean, let's say, for instance, worst case scenario, you don't have Desean Jackson because of injury, because of the shoulder, the concussion. He didn't pass concussion protocol. You still have you could bring up a Bobo Wilson. You still have a Cameron Brate. You have OJ Howard. You have Alan Cross, a guy we haven't talked about, who's still a potential weapon as well. Mike Evans. And, just so many different things that you can throw at this defense. And again, in that secondary, I just don't believe that this secondary has what it takes to consistently defend against that.
Yeah, I mean, personnel-wise, the Bucs offense has, they have probably a top 5 from personnel. I mean, they can match up with anyone. Again, like Chris Sims said in his podcast, like you can't play this offense man-to-man coverage. It's just not logical because if the quarterback has time, he's going to find ways to make plays. I mean, guys are going to be open. But like I said, the big thing is once you get down in the red zone, you have to be creative, spread them out a little bit and find either your tight ends or go up to Mike Evans. You got to find a way to isolate that, or you can just spread them out and run the ball with Peyton Barber. So there's plenty of ways this offense can score. And I saw a comment in the chat. I like what Peter Cass said. He's like, this is pretty much strength on strength and weakness versus weakness. You look at the units, our offense versus their defense, which is both our strengths right now. And then, defensively versus their offense, which their offense is okay, but nothing great because of, Carson Wentz not being in there.
Right. And the cool thing about this right now, which is what we want to see more of, what we saw in this game against the Saints, stopping the run. If you Darren Sproles, I believe Darren Sproles has a groin injury. Is that correct? Darren Sproles hamstring. He has a hamstring injury. This is via Buccaneers.com. Looks like he's limited in practice as of right now. And there's a potential hamstring injury. So we don't know what you have here. But again, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, is Alshon Jeffrey's shoulder injury. He's limited in practice so far. We don't know if he's going to play or not. But as you go down that roster, I think that this is just an opportunity where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if they can stop the run and get a little bit of pressure on that quarterback, I think it'll benefit them. But again, we'll just have to kind of wait and see how everything plays out. And just like Peter Cass mentioned, strength against strength, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, if Darren Sproles is out, that's a big loss for the Eagles. I think that would be one of the mismatches for our defense if we had to go up against Darren Sproles, just because the Eagles are so good at finding our weaknesses, finding opposing weaknesses, and I think that's something they would target. Throwing the ball to Darren Sproles out of the backfield against our linebackers, which our linebackers struggle in coverage. They just, for whatever reason, they struggle against quick running backs, whether it's, Christian McCaffrey or Kamara. They're just tough guys to guard, and I think that would be a big can go for the Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about the offense. So now you're a defensive coordinator now, Mike. How do you defend against this Philadelphia Eagles, just based on what you saw against that Atlanta Falcons team? How do you defend against this Eagles offense?
I would blitz a lot. I would go after Nick Foles. That's something that they have to do. Obviously, it starts with stopping the run. So that's going to be the big task, because Ajayi is a load, and once he got going against the Falcons, that's pretty much when they took over the game. So I think we're going to have to stop the run. If we can shut down Ajayi and take the ball out of his hands, put the ball on Nick Foles and make him try to beat us. But I think we play aggressive coverage, try to take the short routes away, and really jump those short routes, because that's what he's looking to get going. So I just want to see us be aggressive, whether it's coming up with blitzes or zone blitz. That's something that I think we can take advantage of. And I think the Falcons did a good job of that, of really mixing up their coverages and really going out from man to zone, and then also, bringing blitzes off the edge. And I think that's something we can have success with.
Yeah. So, and again, that great strategy. I know for me, stopping the run is going to be huge. I know it's very basic, very cliche, but when you look at what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do last week against the Atlanta Falcons, that was what was the driving force for this team getting that win, was being able to run the ball at will for the most part. The players that we have in Tampa here, the players that the Bucs have that they've brought in to stop the run, that's what they need to do. I know a lot of people were jumping out the window. Oh, the Saints scored all these points. You know what? They stopped the run. That's something they were unable to do last season, something that they could have won games by, not by being able to stop the run last season. They were unable to do that. This is something that you have to look at what they're able to do now with the personnel that they have now. And I believe that this will benefit them by being able to stop the run and forcing the Philadelphia Eagles offense to turn to some other way of winning other than trying to run the ball.
Yeah, you have to be able to stop the run. Got feedback again.
Sorry.
That's all right. But yeah, we got to be able to stop the run and get after them as far as the defensive line goes. I think it's going to be a huge game for them. I think they really have to make sure, again, like, they establish their lanes and maintain their gaps. That's going to be huge. They're facing a much better offensive line than the Saints, which is kind of scary, because Saints have a good offensive line, but the Eagles they're up there. They're like elite offensive line. So it's going to be tough. Hopefully hopefully Jason Pierre-Paul can go, and I think he will. I don't think it's anything serious. I mean, he was in the game last week, and he came back from injury, so I would expect him to play. But overall, they have to bring it from the defensive line standpoint, because that's really going to set the tone. And if they can be able to get after Foles and make him uncomfortable back there, that's when you can start to really take advantage and really force some turnovers.
Yeah, and that's going to be key right there, is the Buccaneers getting turnovers in this game. You're talking about the defending Super Bowl champions. I do not want to see the Philadelphia special. Please. God, please do not let that happen. Light somebody up. I mean, even if you get a penalty or something, that has to be in there in somewhere on that in the back of their minds. They have to be looking at this and saying, no Philadelphia special this week.
Yeah.
Next week, not this week. Again, this team, as we've said since the end of the season last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in every game. Okay. You can say whatever you want to. You can be mad about the picks they made. You can be mad about the free agents they brought in. But trust and believe, this team is in every game. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't see a team that scares me out there. The Bucs have the weapons. They have the tools. As long as they can start bringing this together and continually improve throughout the season, limit injuries, the Buccaneers are in every game, especially this one here. This is a winnable game for the Bucs. For me, the key is going to be discipline. The key is going to be, in my opinion, execution. Execution is going to be huge. Whatever Mike Smith is drawing up, I know people are mad at Mike Smith for whatever reason, but guys have to execute. What I saw in the second half was a lot of complacency. And hey, I could be wrong here, but that's just when you go back and watch all 22, if you're watching the game film, you watched a lot of complacency and there wasn't that sense of urgency that you saw. I realized that they called off the dogs a little bit, but at the same time, you have to be playing in your place. You have to be playing according to your assignments. The one thing that kind of bothers me is Chris Conte. And you know me, I've been a Chris Conte supporter, but just for some reason, it looks like this game, he played out of position a few times. There are a few times where if he would have just done what he was supposed to do and not worry about what anybody else was doing, plays would have been different. But hopefully, again, that's something that's coachable. That's something you can change. And, again, I'm not going to go in on this guy. He's a starter for a reason. And let's just wait and see what happens throughout the season. So to me, right now, that's your guy, and you kind of have to roll with him.
But no, I was laughing at the chat. But anything, I mean, I think, you go back to discipline. I think that's going to be huge. You can't give this team any extra yards as far as, penalties and stuff like that. So I think we have to be really smart, especially with our pre-snap penalties. You don't want to see any of that nonsense. So hopefully, we can play a clean game and play it the right way, but be physical at the same time. Right. But, overall, I think offensively, we're just going to have to play smart football again, protect the ball, and get the ball out quickly on 1st and 10 and really win those early downs, because that's really what's going to help us sustain drives and stay ahead of the chains. You don't want to be in 3rd and long situations. And then obviously it's going to come down to red zone offense. Can we get 6? Because I think we're going to be able to move the ball against them, from the 20 to the 20, but we have to be able to finish drives. And then same thing on defense. I think we're going to play, probably you're going to see a bend, don't break kind of style. And that's something that we've shown in the past, but we got to find a ways to force turnovers or get them off the field to force field goals. I think that's going to be the critical, that's going to decide the game.
Yeah. And folks, I know a lot of people hate Mike Smith right now. Mike Smith is who you're rolling with. This is your date to the prom. So you got to roll with it. Whether you like him or not, this is your guy. So you got to roll with him. So, I understand a lot of people aren't liking what he's doing. But one thing that I will say, if you go back and look at the film, there were a lot of plays that could have been made in the second half. But just because of execution, it didn't happen. So keep in mind, I really want, I'm not excusing Mike Smith by any means. I'm just saying, when you go back and look at this game, look at missed tackles, look at plays where players were out of position. And those are things that are coachable, things you can clean up. And just keep in mind, is it the play calling or is it the execution? And that's what you kind of have to ask yourself. And again, I'm giving him a lot of leeway. He's the guy right now. There's nothing we can do about it. So let's see how this all plays out. Ultimately, the Bucs are 1-0 and not 0-1. This would be a totally different podcast if we were talking about an 0-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that got blown out because they weren't executing or doing what they were supposed to. This would be a totally different podcast. But the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went to Gumbo Town and they won and they came up with that W. That's what we're looking at right now. So let's enjoy this. The world champion Philadelphia Eagles are next. They're up next in Tampa. This is going to be a great game. This is going to be a great telltale sign of what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are capable of doing. But again, as I said at the beginning of the show, you really don't know what you have completely until like week 5, week 6 of the season, where you have consistency, where you have teams, the line gelling, where you have communication, a lot of different things that you really need to do that this team will require going into the back end of the season. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think this team is just on the right path, because everything, from last week, I think just offensively everything clicked, and it was really nice to see, like you said earlier in the podcast, we were like, oh, translated from preseason to the regular season, which was great to see. So, and then you go over to the defensive side. I think it's just going to take time, and I think eventually you're going to see this defensive line really start to take off. Again, health is going to be critical. Staying healthy. You got to get some bounces from the injury. From injuries. So that's going to be the main thing if they can stay healthy. But I like what's going on as far as the overall process. Like I said, they're doing everything they can to win games. It's not about keeping players happy or this or that. There's no ego anymore. It's just, we're going to go out there and get the W, which is nice to see. And I think, yeah, exactly. And I think eventually you're really going to see this team continue to come together, and hopefully we can put up some wins. But right now, we can't look too far ahead. Right now, it's just about being the Eagles at home. This is Raymond James Stadium they're coming into, and we really got to start building that home field advantage back up where it used to be, and really start winning games at home, because that's critical. If you can win at home, then on the road you don't have to win as much. It just makes you easier for to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, most definitely. And guys, whoever's listening, basically, again, this team is better than you thought they were. I mean, not better than we thought. We knew, but if you're kind of on the outside looking in, and you didn't see the moves that were being made, and you didn't see how the moves were going to affect this team, please just give it time. This is a brand new defensive line. When you talk about Vita Vea, you talk about Vinny Curry, you talk about Mitch Unrein, you talk about Bo Allen, you talk about just the players that they've brought in to go along with the players that they currently have. The Buccaneers are really putting something together. Once they can put this together, I'm telling you, just the outsider looking in. I'm not at practice, but just what I'm seeing, the quality of talent that they had compared to last year is leaps and bounds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the personnel. And did I say bend and break earlier? I see that in the chat. I guess
they're giving
okay. Okay. Obviously we don't want to we don't want to bend and break. We want to get off the field. We want to get off the field on third down. That's the main thing. I would like to see us do that, but again, with the secondary that we have, if we can hold teams to field goals, I'd be happy with that. So and that's what I think. I mean, obviously we're going to see some of that because they just don't want to give up the big plays. They're going to make these teams, drive the ball down the field with dink and dunk. I know it's unfortunate, but until this pass rush gets going, I mean, that's just what we're going to see. But as far as personnel, I mean, personnel is way above what it was last year. You brought in a lot of new players. Offensive line, Ryan Jensen, that's a huge addition, and then defensive line. Yeah, Ryan Jensen's he's a beast. So, I think we have all the pieces in place. It's just about getting these guys all on the same page and really coming together as a team. And I think we have that.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, you got to look at these injuries. If you guys get a chance, if you can get the special deal that they have for like what is it, a week of Game Pass, You can go back to all 22 and look at some of these games. I'd love for you guys to just take the opportunity to educate yourself on looking at game film and just look at things away from the ball. Don't look at any of the play surrounding the ball. You look at plays away from the ball, see where your linebackers are lined up, see where defensive tackles are, see where cornerbacks are, see where your secondary is lined up at, and this will really help you understand the game a whole lot more. I'm telling you, the Buccaneers defense is not as bad as you guys think they are. You're talking about Drew Brees, who puts up Madden-like numbers, and I say Madden-like on easy level because those are the kind of numbers that this guy puts up, and he does this in real life, and it doesn't matter who he's up against. That's just what he does. So just keep in mind who you're facing when you're talking about a Drew Brees. Again, this will that he's just a quarterback on another level, and I like the fact that this team has young players. They're coming along. They're not struggling like you would see, but I think that they're going to be integral parts of this team for quite a while. So I'm really happy with the moves that Jason Light, a guy we haven't mentioned throughout the show. Shout out to Jason Light. Hopefully that he watches the show low key. I would be happy to say that he does. But seriously, Jason Light, some of the moves, I know people are looking at the negative moves that he's made, but if you look at the previous two general managers that the Buccaneers have had, I'm happy with what Jason Light has done compared to those two guys. So I'll go on record saying that, and I would defend his body of work up to this point versus what they were able to do at the points that they were in their careers. So again, it's one of those things that, let's just wait and see how this all plays out. And I'm of a mind, you got to trust the process. Amazement 717, what's up? We won in one of the hardest buildings to win in with a backup quarterback and guys still complaining. You know what, dude? It is what it is. I'm going to leave that alone. Everybody roots for a team. Like I said this before too, everybody roots for a team in their own way. But, we called it out here. We said, you look at the moves that Jason Light made. He looked at game film. He realized there were issues that needed to be addressed, and he went in and addressed them. I mean, I don't know about you. I look at the fact that he went out and drafted two cornerbacks. That speaks volumes about what he thought about this team and how he felt like these guys could help this team as the season progressed. And to me, it looks like it's kind of paying off with who they have and how aggressive they are. So, we just kind of have to trust the process. Let's wait and see what happens. Plus, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. You got to trust the process, and I think bringing in two corners, that was necessary. I think they had to do that. They're trying to build a young secondary. You look at MJ Stewart and Carlton Davis, and then with Vernon Hargraves, and now you have Justin Evans, and then Jordan Whitehead as well. That's kind of your future secondary right there. That's something they're trying to build as far as your nucleus back there. And you look at last year's draft, it wasn't great on pass rushers. And now you look at this draft coming up, it's very strong in the trenches and along the offensive line and defensive line. And I think that's something they're going to attack. But again, that's for way down the road. It's too early to talk draft, and I'm not going to. But yeah, I like what they're doing. And again, these things take time. Again, week one is the biggest overreaction week because, again, teams, they're just not who they are right now. And again, that's the same for the Bucs.
The Buffalo Bills are who they are.
Yeah, they're pretty bad, but that's not their fault. That's coaching and management as far as that team goes. But yeah, I think the Bucs, I think, are in a great spot because they got a huge win on the road, a division win. That's going to mean a lot for this team going forward. And now, if you can win one of these, next couple of games coming up, you're in a great spot when Jameis Winston comes back. And now you're really in the driver's seat because your schedule starts to get much easier as we go on.
Yeah, most definitely. Again, I'm pleasantly surprised with what they were able to do on offense. I was equally surprised with what they did on defense. Again, this is just the first game of the season. This is the first game that you have a line trying to come together, and I can't stress this enough. Let's see what they can do. Trust the process. I mean, you've got consummate professionals. You've got 2 Super Bowl champions, 3 Super Bowl champions if you include JPP. And JPP played with an injury. Folks, JPP was not off. He was playing with an injury, and he stayed in that game. So, I think this practice, he was in a knee brace, I believe.
Yeah.
But again, this team, I think they will gel together. I think they'll be fine. You re-sign, what is it? Will Clark is back with the Bucs right now, I believe.
Yep.
Is that correct? Am I correct in that? So again, guys that know the system, guys that are hungry, and guys that want to come out and play. You got a couple of guys in Bo Allen and Vinny Curry that want to come out and show the Philadelphia Eagles what they're all about. After the offseason. So there's a lot of things going on, and again, this is a winnable game. Don't think the Bucs are going to go out there and get blown out by 89 points or something like that. This is a game that they can win this game. They're not out of this game just because this is a Super Bowl champions.
Yep. No, I agree. I think, looking at this game and get into final thoughts here, but offensively, defensively, I think we match up well with this team. I think we can make things happen, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think it's going to come down to our offensive line and defensive line. If we can match their physicality, and that's something Vinny Curry talked about today, that's going to be very important. Match their toughness and physicality. And if we can do that and really stay with them, I think we have a good chance. I like, how we game plan last week, and I expect us to do the same thing this week and really find their weaknesses on defense and take advantage of that. And I think if the defense can just do their job as far as limiting the big plays and really taking advantage when they have chances to make turnovers, we're going to be in a good spot.
All right. So, Michael Pless, I do have something that I tweeted this out earlier. I'll get into that in just a moment, but I do want to get your final thoughts. I know it's late, and I'll jump on what I'm going to talk about here shortly. But great show. I think we covered a lot of stuff, and hopefully we covered things that haven't been talked about yet. But if we have, I'm sorry. This is what we do. We're in our own world right now. I mean, when you're talking about Buck, what you heard in Real Bucks Talk, we're in our own world and not really paying attention to what everybody else is doing. So give me your last thoughts. And, you gotta come on, man. You gotta let me in on what's going on with you guys. So they're in this laboratory and they're doing stuff. You don't know what's going on.
Not yet. Not yet. It's coming soon. I'll tell you, it'll be out. The word will be out this week. It'll be out.
And I have to figure out what it is with the rest of you guys. So I'm right here with you guys. So go ahead.
But anyway, I'm really looking forward to the game. I'll be at Ray J with my partner Mark Ramirez, and we're gonna have a great time. So really looking forward to that. We'll be at What the Buck tailgate. PureCast
in Tampa.
Yeah, PureCast. I know you guys will be there. So if we meet up, I would like to get together and have a good time. So just looking forward to that. I think Raymond James is really going to be pumped on Sunday. I think with this big win that we're coming off of, I really think it's going to be rocking, and I'm really excited to see a good atmosphere and a good game against this tough Eagles team. And I think we're going to show. I think we're going to shock the world again. I think we're really going to show what this team is about, and that this team is for real. And we're on our way. We're going to make some noise.
There you go. And guys, I know earlier today on Twitter, if you're following me on Twitter, please follow me at Super Heavyweight. Again, it football related. I love talking football. I asked the question. Not every player that comes to Tampa is a fan favorite. Who is that one player for you that just irks your nerves or you cannot stand? And I got a lot of responses here. And I just kind of want to roll through these real quick. I know that a lot of people said that Chris Baker, which Chris Baker was the clear winner. Chris Baker was number one. And then let's see, number 2 was Chris Conti. Number 3 was Greg Schiano. And number 4 was Kenyatta Walker. So I know for me, which I'm really disappointed that nobody said EJ Biggers, because my liver hates him and I hate him. And that's just how it is. Okay. Just watching this guy for all these years. I know people talk about, why is Chris Conti not gone? That's what I was saying about EJ Biggers. So you guys suck it up until he's gone. Okay. You guys got to deal with it just like I did. But anyway, let's see here. Brent Allen says Keyshawn Johnson. Brent Allen, wow. He went with Keyshawn Johnson. Let's see. Savage Man says Ryan Smith. Big E Triple X says Austin Safarian Jenkins. Again,
that's fair.
Nobody talking about EJ Biggers, who is always on ESPN. Well, the back of his jersey was always on ESPN because he's always chasing down a wide receiver. But nobody wants to talk about that. Oh no, they want to talk about these other guys. And okay, fine. You're gonna have your opinion. That's fine. But again, Chris Baker is the clear winner. I will be getting with Pewtercast because we have to get Chris Baker some kind of award for being the biggest jerk that I mean, in fan base wise, we have to get him some kind of award because of who he is and what he is. Yeah. And the fact that he came to the Lightning game, or he tweeted about the Lightning game, or, just the fact that he was involved, the way he was trolling, just really endeared a lot of people to, well, not endeared, but unendeared. I guess that would be a word to use. I mean, he's just one of those guys that you just made you sick to your stomach. Ryan Hellrung, thank you. EJ Biggers, finally, somebody that agrees with me. But anyway, folks, thank you so much. I can't believe all the people that are checking this out. Please check us out next week. We're going to do the same thing. We'll break down the Philadelphia Eagles game and prepare for the Monday night game. Tony Dungy being inducted into the Ring of Honor. Great moment in Buccaneers history, period. I thought Doug Williams was until Tony Dungy, hearing about Tony Dungy, and I'm just excited for him and what he means to me as a longtime Buccaneer fan, how he changed the atmosphere, how he changed things for the better, just for the community of the Tampa area. And just, just things like that just really just gives me chills just to realize that he's finally being inducted, and it's long overdue. Pewtercast, Asshat of the Year award. I can go with that. Okay, we will talk. Pewtercast, we will talk, and that does work. Tree Humper is one that I was thinking about. But anyway, folks, thank you so much for checking us out. I will get this video up on, you should see this on iTunes in the morning. I know they take a long time to do what they do, but we'll get this up here. But anyway, thanks again for checking us out, and everybody have a great evening. And remember, buck what you heard.
Buck what you heard.
It gonna catch another ship, yeah. And it's like a load of so it's time to flip the script, yeah. Cruising through the bay on the fucking